Good afternoon, everyone out there in the World Wide Web. I hope everyone is doing fine this afternoon. I hope you're staying well. I hope you're staying safe. Want to go through a little bit of logistical issues first, and then we'll get into today's seminar. My name is David Barton. I'm a managing director with UHY Consulting, and our technology risk and compliance service line helps our clients lower their technology risk and improve their cybersecurity processes and controls. That's our goal. On the screen that you see there is a kind of a highlight or high-level overview of the services that we offer. So please keep those in mind as we move forward. Today's webinar will be about 30 minutes long. We're getting better as we go through this. We've done 2 so far today. Every person who participates will get a certificate. It'll be emailed to you, and whether or not you can use that for CPE really depends on your state's requirements for the CPE type that you're asking for. A digital copy of the slides will be sent to every attendee later today. And at the end of the presentation of the webinar, there's a survey, and there's going to be a special offer at the end of this. And that survey is going to be your means to let us know that you're interested in taking advantage of the offer that we're making. So that's our frequently asked questions. Your input is encouraged. Right now you are muted. We will be answering questions and handling comments throughout the presentation using the tool that is part of GoToWebinar. The side panel has a couple of icons. The first icon is to raise your hand virtually. And at that point, you can ask a question by typing in a question or a comment in the box. And my colleague, Norman Comstock, who I failed to introduce on the earlier slide, is in the background. He'll be handling questions and forwarding those to me as we go along. So with that, let's go ahead and, oh, I have one more. We as UHY Consulting are going to have several webinars in the coming days. A week from today, we've got one entitled How to Engage and Manage Virtual Teams. It's sort of the human resource side of this whole suddenly remote workforce. Then on Tuesday, the April 7th, we've got the Game Changer, Inoculate the Remote Worker and Practice Network Distancing. That's different from social distancing. And then Thursday, 2 weeks from today, Flattening the Curve and the Effects on the US Economy. That will be a gangbuster, trust me. The speaker we have is very well versed in financial markets and will give us an understanding of what this is going to do and has done already. So keep those on your calendar. All right, so we are in a very unique situation in today's world. The world is changing rapidly as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've never ever dealt with a global pandemic in this way. We haven't had the tools, we haven't had the technology that we have today to deal with it. And suddenly we have the largest workforce, remote workforce in history. We've never had this many people working outside of offices, because businesses and governments are closing offices that are normally full of people and working. And that social interaction that we've all gotten used to at the office is no more all of a sudden. So many of the suddenly remote workers have never worked from home before. Many of us at UHY Consulting have done it for quite some time. I know that many of you have done it. It's becoming a phenomenon in the general economy, but there are still those workers who have gone to an office their entire career and been away from home for work and then come home from work to do home things. Now it's all mixed up. So as a result of all these sudden changes, anxiety is high, and there's a tremendous sense of urgency that's very common among a lot of the people that are thrown into this for the first time. Whenever that happens, there's a larger risk of things going wrong. And that's exactly why this slide says, what could possibly go wrong? You've got all these people all of a sudden doing things they've never done before in ways they've never done it before. And there's a lot more risk out there as a result, and we're going to go through some of those risks right now. First of all, some statistics. And these statistics are from prior to the outbreak of the pandemic. 92% of all malware is delivered by email. 95% of attacks on business networks result from successful spear phishing. Okay? Every time there's a breach at a company, 95% of the time that breach began with a phishing email. The next statistic is going to talk about how many people can recognize a phishing email. I want you to think about what's the number you would think. What's the percentage of people globally that have the capacity to recognize a sophisticated phishing email? You ready? 97% are unable to identify a sophisticated phishing email. Even those of us that work in this industry day by day sometimes can get fooled or can get in a hurry and not pay attention, and suddenly we've got an issue that we have to deal with. These numbers are staggering. Last but not least, the average cost of a phishing attack to a mid-sized company, again, think about it for a moment, get a number in your head. What do you think the cost of a phishing attack to a mid-sized company is? Ready? The answer is $1.6 million. And that is money that you're not going to be able to spend on improving your business, investing in your business. You can't get new technology with it. You can't get new plant and equipment with it. You can't do a lot of things. You can't hire new people because that $1.6 million is gone because of a phishing email. And it only takes one person. So what are we going to see in the coming days? Well, what we've already seen is increased level of phishing attacks. There are new ways that they're trying to get in, and we're going to talk about some of those. First, you're going to see official looking emails from supposedly official sources like the CDC and the World Health Organization. This is an example. It looks like an official CDC announcement. It looks like it's very official. It says updated list of new cases around your city are available at cdc.gov coronavirus new cases cities HTML. That's going to take you to a website that's probably not the CDC. It's probably going to be laden with malware. It may infect your computer with ransomware or a keylogger or any number of bad things. Okay. Here's another example. The World Health Organization, very official looking, and it's laid out much like you would see a press release or a news release from the World Health Organization. But if you look closer, there's a couple of things that jump out at me as a professional who deals with these every day. The first is you've got a different font in the first sentence than you do in the rest of the sentences, and then down here there's a third. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when you read it, it's the first thing to say is inside this ebook, My Health. Oh, that's the attachment. The attachment is a zip file, supposedly an ebook. I'm guessing that's not really an ebook. I'm guessing that inside that zip file, there's all manner of malware and bad things that can happen. The third clue is just the language and the way it's written. Here's a great example down here. You are receiving this email because your life count as everyone's lives count. That doesn't sound like someone who is proficient in English that wrote that, which tells me it's probably someone from another country far, far away trying to fool me into opening this attachment and infecting my laptop or my workstation or my device with some kind of malware or keylogger so that they can use it to get to other information that I may have. Third type of phishing email that we're seeing are spoofing the internal emails that are rampant right now because all the organizations are struggling to keep their people informed as to here's a new policy, here's a new procedure, here's how you need to get this done. So this one says, and you can substitute the name of your organization or your company, Due to the coronavirus outbreak, UHY Consulting is actively taking safety precautions by instituting a communicable disease management policy, right? So it's asking you to read and acknowledge the policy before a certain date. It's a hot link. That's what the blue indicates. You click on that link. Again, you're probably not going to be taken to your corporate HR site. You're going to be taken to a phony website that will do bad things to your computer. So we see they contain attachments that can download malware. Let me show you how this is done and why it's getting to be so prolific. This is a website in one of the Russian areas that is offering a phishing toolkit. Yes, I said that. A phishing toolkit that you can buy that will allow you to send phishing emails and provide a map to the recipient, which is not really a map. It's actually malware, ransomware, to be specific. So a payload is part of the whole deal. You download this toolkit, you can adjust things and send it out, and you can be a fisherman yourself. This is the actual map, which is legit, by the way. There is a map just like this that's available on the Johns Hopkins website that tracks the number of cases by country, and it has a global map that shows you where the hot zones are, okay? The problem is that map is legitimate. This map is not. This map is just to placate you and make you think that you've downloaded the map, but in fact, you've downloaded some malware. The clue is right up here, coronavirusmap.com. If that is an offer that you've gotten, don't go to coronavirusmap.com. This is why we're telling people, always, always go to the legitimate site yourself. Go to cdc.gov, go to who.org, go to Johns Hopkins. I don't know the URL completely, but you understand my point. Here's another little gem. This one popped up last week. This is what it looks like. There's an app that's being offered to have a coronavirus tracker on your Android phone. And when it offers to show you where the outbreak is on your street, in your city, in your state. I mean, right now, who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want to know that their neighbor may be infected? The problem is it's not legitimate. Again, when you open that app after you've downloaded it, what it does is it encrypts your phone. And in order to get your phone back, unlock it, you have to pay them $100 in Bitcoin, or everything's going to be erased. So here we are struggling to stay in touch with family, friends, coworkers, loved ones, and the cell phone is the way we do a lot of that. FaceTime, text messages, you name it. And these guys are out there extorting money from people who are trying to use their phone for staying in touch during a time of crisis. So,
David,
yes.
One of our participants is asking a question about, with that in place, what should employers be doing in order to be able to help avoid these situations for their employees?
Well, from an employee standpoint, as far as this particular app, you mean? For this particular app, this is okay.
Or things posing to be doing the same thing.
Got it. This app did not come from one of the legitimate sources. It did not come from, I guess it's the Google store that Android apps are distributed through, similarly to the App Store for iPhone. So this did not come from there. You can be a little bit more certain if you're getting it from the legitimate App Store or Google Play, whatever that's called, that it's going to be a legitimate app. So if it comes to you via email or any other channel, or you see an advertisement online that says go here to download this app, that's where you get in trouble. So only get those apps for your particular device from the legitimate distributor for that device. And that's one way to help ensure you're getting legitimate things. All right, so no wonder our employees are more susceptible to phishing. They're living in very uncertain times. There's lots of change. There's new processes and protocols, and they're just trying to do their job and keep up. So all of this confusion and all of this worry makes it much easier for them to be a victim of phishing email or other email type con jobs.
Hey, David.
The other thing we're going to see, I think, yep.
Yeah, just another question from the audience about Androids with regard to phones. Are they more susceptible to malware? And should they be warning their employees, Android using employees, to be extra vigilant?
It never hurts to be extra vigilant, especially during these times. Yes, traditionally Android devices are much more susceptible. Android is like Windows. It's more of an open system. All the developers have certain tools that are available freely. So it's very easy for malware to be produced, manufactured, and propagated through those various channels outside of the Google store. So yes, warning them is always a good thing. Okay, remote support scams will be on the rise. They may get calls from unfamiliar support staff, and they may resort to self-help tactics in order to get to a point where they can do their work efficiently. So here are a couple examples of that.
Hello, David. I'm Jason from Remote Assistance. We need to install some additional security software on your laptop since you are now working from home. Can I take control of your computer for a few minutes?
Right. Now imagine you're one of these suddenly remote workers and you're never had Jason call you, especially with that kind of an accent, and ask you to let him get into your computer. But knowing that things are weird and things are changing, you may say, okay, I guess, because I don't want to be, a victim and cause something bad to happen at my company. And so you say yes, and what happens? Jason doesn't install security software. He installs a keylogger, and now he has access to every keystroke that you make on your laptop, your computer, your phone, whatever. And with that, he can then know all your account numbers, all your IDs, all of your passwords, everything that you do from your device, they're going to be able to track. And we've seen many, many examples of this in the last 5, 6 years with our customers and our clients and business email compromise. All right, so this is another example. Sally is suddenly remote. She has to work from home. And the only computer she has at home is her MacBook. Every day she went to the office and used one of the workstations at the office. And those were not something that they were able to allow her to take home. They were hardwired. So here she is with her MacBook and trying to work from home. So she contacts IT and says, I need to use my MacBook to work from home. What do I need to do to get that done? IT says, no, I'm sorry, you can't use your MacBook because we only support Windows. So what is Sally going to do at this point? She has to get her work done. She's going to come up with her own self-help workaround. She'll say, well, fine, I'll just use my Yahoo account for work email, and I'll use my Google Drive to store all the documents that I'm working on, and then we'll worry about uploading all that later. So she's talking about using 2 publicly available sources for storing and exchanging information, sort of like a politician that I know that used a server in her basement. So shortage of IT resources. We already have that. It already exists. And this is causing problems for a variety of reasons. They were already in short supply. Now they're scrambling to deal with the demands of remote workers. They're reconfiguring networks. They're trying to put in some security things in place to help thwart this. All of a sudden, the risk level has just gone through the roof. And as a result, they're not going to be available necessarily to deal with support tickets for this remote transition that a lot of workers have. That's why I said you're going to see more remote support con jobs coming through to your people. Your company may decide, hey, we can't handle this. We need to outsource some of this help desk stuff to a third party. They're not going to be familiar, and so you're creating an opportunity, so to speak. Unsecured networks and Wi-Fi. Suddenly you've got all these people like Sally using a MacBook on a home network, and you have no idea as a security professional or an executive at a company as to whether or not all those people have secure networks. Some of them may have absolutely open networks, right? So anybody that is around their house can get on their Wi-Fi and possibly do some things to insert themselves and watch the traffic as it goes by, and including possibly IDs and passwords for business related transactions and so on. Also, you've got cable modems and routers. Some of these people signed up for their existing internet provider years ago. They may not have touched those modems or those routers and patched them at all. So they could be many, many generations behind in terms of the patches that should have been in place. And there may be known vulnerabilities out there in the wild, and suddenly these people are working from home. Now we're going to talk about the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is also something that you need to be aware of. This is baby monitors, or the Ring doorbells, your smart TVs, Google Home, your Alexa. All of those things are actually part and parcel to your home network, and they also are a means for hackers to get inside of your network. So those can be unpatched. They can be sitting there with the default password that's never been changed, allowing a hacker to get inside that home network and possibly see business related correspondence, transactions, etc. So unpatched operating systems and applications. I talked about the fact that Windows is similar to Android, and it's an open system, and that requires a lot of patches. One of the other things that this comes into play is you may have an old desktop computer that somebody's had for years. It may still be running XP, and if that's the case, that's no longer a supported platform. And as a result, all of the exploits are probably still there. The vulnerabilities are still there, and the hackers know this. So if they get inside that home network, they can then get inside that workstation and do all kinds of damage. You've got the fact that malware-laden home computers. Junior's been out there doing work, doing school work, whatever. Nobody cared, because before that was just their computer. And now all of a sudden, your workers have to use it to conduct business. But it's so laden with malware, it's a very high risk. Privacy and confidentiality breaches. At the office, people have the bins that they can put confidential information in to be shredded. At home, they may not have a shredder. So what's going to happen to all that confidential material that they're dealing with? They may have the capability to print those confidential documents at home, but what do they do with them afterwards? Put them in the public recycle bin? Is that really what you want? Brings the dumpster diving to a whole nother level. Capability to offload intellectual property, electronic private health information, and also personally identifiable information. So there's all kinds of aspects to this. There's the new California law, there's the GDPR, there's the Gramm-Leach-Bliley. All of those things come into play when you're talking about confidentiality and privacy breaches. And then the public Wi-Fi, right? You got everybody at home. Sometimes people are going to want to get out if they're not under a stay-at-home order, like I am here in North Carolina. But there's all sorts of issues with public Wi-Fi. That's pretty well known. One of the things that you really need to do is to look into getting a VPN for your network. All right, what can you do? First of all, communication. We're in a crisis situation, and in any crisis situation, Communication is critical. You've seen the president almost daily, sometimes twice a day, coming on, talking about what's happening, why it's happening, what's coming next, all those sorts of things. It needs to be open, honest, and frequent, and use all the channels that you've got at your disposal. We're going to talk about that. If you don't have a communication plan, try to get one developed as soon as you can. Ensure that all your associates have access to the home phone and the cell phone for all critical associates in the organization. Also, give them guidelines and protocol for using the various communication channels. For example, when is it best to use email? When is it best to use instant message? Virtual meetings, personal phone numbers, text messaging, and last but not least, office phone forwarding. If none of your people have forwarded their office phone, how many voicemails are being left that may be critical? Maybe customers trying to reach them in order to help them with an issue that they're having. So these are things that need to be considered and figured out. Develop and distribute a remote worker policy manual. If you don't have one already, again, this is something that you should try to develop quickly and get it out there. If you need assistance because everybody's scrambling to handle all of the workload, this is something that UHY can assist with. We can help you develop policy manuals for communication, for remote workers, and for an incident response plan. I guarantee you that very, very, very few incident response plans in this country had any provision for a pandemic. But here we are right in the middle of it, and suddenly we're having to deal with something we've never done before. So incident response plans are in need of update and quick delivery to the folks that need to utilize them. Some policies to consider. First and foremost, all access to corporate data and systems must be via VPN, virtual private network. It sets up an encrypted channel for all the communication between any device and the corporate data and those systems. Because VPN are specific channels, they sometimes have to be set up in a specific way. There are publicly available VPN services such as Proton, TunnelBear, IPVanish. Figure out in your organization which one you think is best for the type of work you're going to be doing and your people are going to be doing. Allow them to use it. Allow them to expense whatever cost there is to getting it. Give them guidelines on how to install it, all that stuff, part of the communication plan. All VPN access should require two-factor authentication. Everybody knows two-factor, right? You go to the online bank, they send you a code on your phone, which is a text message, and that's how you have that third factor. First factor is your user ID, then your password, and then the phone is something you have, and that conveys the third part of the verification. Policies to consider. First, encourage your folks that are working from home, especially if there's 2 or more people working from home, to limit access to the streaming and the gaming, right? PS4, Amazon, Netflix, all that stuff hogs a tremendous amount of bandwidth, and many home networks just aren't equipped for that, plus all of this virtual communication that's going on for virtual meetings and seminars and webinars like we're doing right now. Allow your associates to expense those bandwidth upgrades while they're working from home. If they can get them, if it's just a simple matter of calling Comcast or calling AT&T and saying, hey, I need to up my bandwidth, can you do that remotely? And a lot of times they can do that. They're just adjusting their plan. Sometimes it's going to involve, an upgrade to equipment, and that may not be as feasible, particularly under the shutdown. Temporarily utilize a forced homepage that provides news and updates. So this would be like the landing page for people who are coming in to do work. This will give them the quick news of the day. Here's the news updates. Here's what's going on. Here's the new policy. Here's where you can get an updated communication plan, those types of things. Last but certainly not least, this is probably the most important thing you can do, is train all of your associates about phishing, about cybersecurity awareness. A recent study by Pony Mons found that training and awareness reduced click-throughs on phishing emails between 26% and 99%, with an average improvement of 64%. I'll say that again, 64% improvement on folks not clicking on bad emails. That's huge. So with that, UHY is offering assistance to all the companies that are struggling with this issue of suddenly remote workforce. We are going to prepare and deliver private awareness training for $1,000 for up to 50 employees. It'll be a 1-hour session. It'll have a lot more information than what was in this session. We're going to talk about ransomware. We're going to talk about business email compromise. We're going to talk about how to spot phishing emails, all those types of things. It's going to have some specific actions for your employees. We're offering this on a first come, first served basis. You can sign up with the survey after the session, or you can contact us directly. And I'm hoping that you will take advantage of this because, again, we're in the midst of a crisis. We're in the midst of a situation nobody's ever dealt with. So we're trying to help our clients and customers to deal with these issues the best way we know how, and that's through training. So in summary, we're in a time of rapid change. The cyber threat vector has increased exponentially. Your associates need communication and guidance for action and training. Train them to be the human firewall. They are your best defense against these phishing attacks and the resulting malware, ransomware, etc. that happens as a result. Utilize all available technology to stay in close contact with all your people. Extroverts are having a really hard time with this isolation thing. So that's what I've got for you today. This is our contact information for myself and for Norman. Please reach out to us if you have concerns, you need additional assistance. We're here, we're happy to help you. And I hope that we have conveyed some information that was valuable to you. Take us up on our offer. Would love to help our clients and customers. Thank you very much for your attendance. Any final questions?
Hey, David, one question that had come up with regard to something that resonated with an attendee was the idea about firmware updates and operating system patching.
Right.
If that's not their normal course, how should employers be instructing them on what to do?
Well, I think that's part of the communication plan. I mean, all these devices are different. Obviously, you can't just send out a blanket communication that says, here's how to upgrade your firmware. It's different for every manufacturer. But you can give some general instructions like find out what the model number and serial number is and go Google how to do a firmware update. Try to get it done on your own. And if that fails, call the help desk. I can't give specifics to that. I could just say that I know that that level of communication is going to be necessary in some cases, particularly when you've got these old devices that have been on the network for a very long time. Anything else? All right, my virtual audience is silent. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. I hope it was helpful to you, and I hope to have you contact us again so that we can help you out further. Have a great day, stay safe, and stay healthy.